Good evening. This is Madeline Zaworski, not Mike DiMuccio, but last year Mike DiMuccio made his second trip to North America on the Advanced Wellness Tour on St. Patrick's Day. So I thought I'd pull out my St. Patrick's Day scarf. Mike is on his return from Paris and asked if I would just facilitate the meeting and begin with asking people who hosted an event last weekend or who may have leveraged the event if they would share outcomes. And we can begin with who would ever like to begin. Can I open it up to the group?
Okay, I'll go first.
Thanks, Barbara.
You're welcome, Madeline. So this is my third time hosting an event, and each one has been a little bit different in terms of who has come and how it's worked out. So I know that Mike has talked about this as being a lock-in event, yet not everyone who's attending for me is at that stage in the process. So I actually had a consultant of 3 months who had 2 family members, one who is a customer and has had great success with a couple of products, and her sister who had no information at all. I had a brand new consultant of 1 day, and I had a new guest who had been on 1 webinar. And unfortunately, not everyone arrived on time. So I am reorganizing how I'm scheduling my event. And then what occurred was when people were looking to sit down and watch the webinar, not everyone had had time to go through the wellness home demonstrations that we had planned. And then some people weren't interested in the webinar because it was more business oriented than they were interested in. So it was a great success because this variety of people were there. Everyone had product experience. Everyone was interested. Everyone received a rollout. Everyone was really happy. But for me, the organization didn't fit well. So I've reorganized it that we start a little earlier. We will do the intros and the demos and the rollouts, and then those people that want to can leave, and those people that are farther along in the process or are interested can stay for the webinar. An hour is way too long for a webinar. A half hour is much better. People like the stories better than just rolling through a PowerPoint with the facts. They really resonate with the stories and got much more out of that. I think that might have been it. We had a great time. It was wonderful. But again, for me, it's not always a lock-in event. People are in different places in the process. So I don't know if the presentations will address that a little bit more. So that's it for me, unless you have a question and you're muted.
That's okay. Why don't we see what others have to say, and then we can come back to some of the points, see where there's inter-rater reliability from observations. Okay, next. Is there someone that would like to volunteer next?
I'll make a couple of comments.
Thanks, Marianne. You want to share where you're from, Marianne?
Oh, yes. We're on the West Coast in Torrance, California, a couple of miles from the ocean. So we're in the Pacific time zone, so it's 9 o'clock in the morning for us, which I find is just great. People can come over half an hour early, have a munchie, be gone by 10, and still have the rest of the day. So I kind of like the hour, especially for a new person, which is, we did have one new person in our midst on Saturday. She's in her mid-30s, Hispanic, a single mom, working part-time at the moment, and has a little bit of experience in another MLM. So I thought I would just pass on a couple of comments about what struck her fancy. The first was Susan Carver's M123 presentation. When she started with the M1, Sandy said, "Oh, that's me," and realized that the future of that has limitations. M2 requires the big big nut of money that you can invest, which she doesn't have, of course. But M3 did catch her fancy. Oh, we've got possibilities here of growing beyond trading dollars for hours for dollars. She also liked Gary Linder's presentation about self-care, and her eyes were open to the wide variety of products that are so unique within Nikken. And speaking of stories, Barbara, she did like the story about Rick's father's experience with the liver.
Very touching.
That was incredible. Okay, that's a couple of main points that I thought I'd pass on.
Thank you. Now, your husband spoke up earlier today. Was there anything else? I see where Bob's on here too, that Bob wants to add to that. Did I see?
Please go. Looks like he turned his video off at the moment.
Okay.
Oh. Unmute yourself.
Yeah, he needs to unmute. Now we can't hear him.
No, unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm unmuted. Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm in one room. Marianne's in the office. I had to lower the TV. It was getting annoying. Anyway, I only had a little to add to all this. We really enjoyed the webinar, the Zoom on Saturday. The new person that we had was very energetic and enthusiastic. We followed up with her again today. We've known her for a long time. We classify her as a bright eye, and if she gets her aha moment, I think she's going to run pretty hard. But my evaluation of the Zoom itself is very good. I liked it all from the beginning to the end, and listened to we had our brainstorming session today with our PA group. And, we had, like Madeline said earlier today, there were 130 connections at one point. And just a little bit of arithmetic, if you just average 4 per 130, that's 520 people watching. Well, Sandy was very impressed with that when I was pointing that out to her. 500 people, it was probably more than that. And I think that's very impressive to somebody brand new. But with so many people and so many connections, my thought is that we all, as consultants, just need to manage our own events. Whatever the subject matter is going to be on a given Saturday. Right now, we're already noticing several different Zooms on different Saturdays, and sometimes they overlap. So we're getting to the point where we pick and choose, and we find like this one was very basic, fundamental, what Nikken can offer you as a business. And for a young person, brand new, not knowing much about Nikken, it was very good. For anyone experienced, it might have been boring, and they might have heard it. They may have heard things 3 or 4 times. So what we're doing is going to match the presentations to the people, and see how that works. So,
can you elaborate a little bit of what you mean about that, Bob, matching the person to the presentation?
Yeah, there's if we've got experienced consultants, if they don't have anyone new to bring, why bother coming over? I mean, they're certainly welcome to come. But if we think maybe the presentation might be a little too advanced for a brand new person, or maybe too fundamental for someone, we'll invite them. But it's a matter of mixing and matching, controlling. I'm not sure I want 17 people on these things. 3, 4, 5 people might be much better. Try not to do so much at one time. Concentrate on the presentation itself. But like I said, go back to the beginning and manage your own events. If you want 17 people, have 17 people. But I think that if there was 130 connections and all of us go back to Rick Murphy or whoever is presenting and say, I would like you to turn your light down a little bit, or I'd like to have you speak up a little bit. Yeah, we're going to drive him crazy. So I think it does behoove us to manage our own events. So, okay, that's what I got.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Next. Well, then
Well,
Sue. Good.
I can speak up. I did not hold an event. Our kitchen is still in disarray, and I had basketball games with my grandchildren. So, but I have listened to the presentation just on my own, and I was very impressed with it. I thought every speaker spoke very clearly about their topic. You know, there was no Nican language in it. You know, we fall into a Nican language that most of us understand, but when you're talking to new people, they don't get it. And I thought everybody avoided that. They were, I was really impressed. The time went by very quickly. I was surprised when it was over. I couldn't believe that it was already been more than an hour. It was scripted very well. It flowed. I mean, Jeff Isom kicked it off, and I thought he couldn't have said things better. And then Susan Carver knocked it out of the park with her, you know, M123. I mean, it was so understandable. I just thought she did a fabulous job on that. You know, and everything else that everybody said. I mean, everybody's part was done very well. You know, I'm thinking with my constant contact email letter that I send out, and I have all my customers and in on that, and all my consultants get my email. So I thought I'd do a business email and send it out through constant contacts and put that link in there. You know, I mean, once they click on it, they'll see, oh my gosh, this is going to be an hour. I don't want to watch that. But maybe someone who really is interested would watch it. I did email our group that of consultants and a couple of girls that have been thinking about becoming a consultant but have never jumped on it. And so I did send them messages and sent them the link. So I have not gotten back to them to see who actually saw it. And nobody has, you know, contacted me all excited, but you know, I think it was done very well. I'm definitely going to use it. And like was said earlier today by Sherry, you know, once we, you know, if you are just concerned about certain parts of it for people to hear, you know, you can actually tell them, you know, go to this minute on the recording and listen to the next 10 minutes, you know, or whatever. So I think it's very usable, and I was very impressed with everything. I thought they did a great job.
Thank you. Dr. Stan, you share. I'm sorry.
I just want to make one quick comment. I was disappointed that I didn't get to hear the whole thing, because when I had the first time Rick did it, I was very impressed, like Sue's speaking about. So it just wasn't a good fit for the group that was there. And I will listen to the whole recording. We only heard the first few people before they lost interest in it. So I just want to make that clear. Thanks.
Dr. Stan, you shared on your team call that we just had that you didn't have any guests, but how you used this afterwards. Could you share that story with others?
Well, yeah, I'll be happy to. But the thing is, I want to back up Sue, because I watched it Saturday. I was by myself, and I was impressed with the format of the thing. I think that if they go back and look at it, they could edit it a lot. There was a lot of redundancy in there, and they could have cut the time back. I thought what they did was excellent with all the presenters. The way Dick made the introduction with Jeff, going right into the thing with Susan on the McDonald's program, not even talking about the products, but about the business, and then they segued into the business, into the products, with Dr. Lender's program. And then that followed through with, you know, with Barbara, with her product experiences, which gave you the product, and she talked about her business her success. She's got the boat and the house on the ocean and all that stuff. I thought it was excellent. I really did. And listening to some of the people on the call tonight, it reminded me of the old days when we did our wellness previews. I mean, we used to have 80 people, and we'd start off with the flip chart, talking about the philosophy and all that stuff, and then go on with doing rollouts, and that sometimes took 2 hours. So I don't think that the hour and a half, it was over maybe 15 minutes longer than it should have been, but I think it was compact. It needs to be edited a little bit, and the following day, Sunday, I went back to my old restaurant where I lived for a while, and the waitress knows me, and we were sitting chatting, and she said, they're closing down for 2 weeks. What am I going to do? I said, go into business with me. And she said, yeah, what are you doing? I said, I'll send you a link. And I sent her the program. She watched the whole thing Sunday night. She said, I'm interested. And then she said, do you really know Susan Carver? And I said, yes, I know Susan Carver. And now we've been going back and forth today. She wants to buy products, but I thought it was well done, and I'll do it again.
So you can leverage another way.
I will.
Suggestion is to leverage. Sue's going to do that with her list.
Yeah, unfortunately, the first one that they had, I lost. I had guests at my club, and I lost the internet connection, so I couldn't watch the whole thing. And I never even watched. I didn't even know if the first one was recorded or not.
Well, they had.
I thought it was well done, and they could tweak it a little bit, take some of the BS. Just they could edit it to make it really, really cut it down, I think.
I'm kind of curious. Are other people having, like what I was fitting in was introductions, demonstrations, and then a wellness home tour, and then having the webinar? Or are people just having people come for the webinar? Oh, and then rollouts as well. So I haven't heard that yet.
We keep it pretty simple. We just come for the webinar here in the West Coast. Like Marianne said, it's early in the morning, 9 o'clock. Everybody's just getting going. We have some small breakfast things, coffee, 10-4, all the goodies, and get them in, get them out. And people are busy. They don't want to stick around on Saturdays. So we just present what we got to present, give them a sample. Thank you very much, and I'll follow up, and have a nice day.
If I could just pick up on that. Thanks, Bob. Heather, you mentioned earlier today, I think through Dr. Gary maybe, on the Platinum Alliance call that 9 a.m., 8:30 with traffic is
tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough here. We didn't have people over because we're just moving into a new place. But our team, where they live like in Stockton and stuff, they said that's just the busiest traffic time, and it's hard to get people to come out that early because they have to factor in about an hour for travel time.
So did you have guests coming in from their homes? Did you have your team?
They did. Yeah, we didn't at our place, but they did at theirs. So, but that's been the biggest complaint that everybody's gotten. They could have had more people there if it hadn't been for traffic.
One of the, we talked about that earlier today. Can you mute back on now and then unmute it again? We're hearing the background. For those of us on the East Coast to have, and I did the same thing you did, Barbara, there was a soup type meal and mingling, and some people come in a little bit late. And then when it started, conversations had been started. Tour the Wellness Home for new guests. This is our third one. This was renewed, an old silver that came back again that actually put in a pretty big order and got excited. And one of the other people who had lost confidence because she had invited so many people, had all rejections, lost a few friends, she ended up being the A to this returning 18-year, tenured silver, and helped her with the order, helped her how to do it. And so that was very affirming for her. But as the two of them struck up the conversation and she took her to where the products were, they did lose a bit of interest in the time when everybody was quiet. And I had 1 male and 6 females, was when Susan Carver spoke and when Julie Tara spoke. Other speakers, there some side conversations would start up or get up to get food or put a product on somebody else, just like you mentioned, Barbara, with yours. I know you and I spoke. It's getting the attention around the noon hour and then going home. So the noon hour for Eastern Standard Time, people have lunches for their families to take care of, groceries, kids going to sports and so forth. So that was a time period that I think will decrease also as well, to have it less, to have had people more through the process beforehand. And if anybody wants to stay, fine. And if someone wants to move into the room where the products are, leaving the room where the presentation is for those that want to listen to it. Because there were a few that wanted to listen and they were annoyed with the side chatter. So that was a little bit of the challenge, trying to be sensitive to people that were there and where they were in the process, and yet to keep it quiet for those that did want to listen. I'm curious.
Could I say something, Madeline? It's
Yes.
Michelle. I think this was supposed to be designed as a locked-in event. So what that means is people who are already gone through the process, now this is to close them. So I think it is meant for those people who are not looking for the wellness home tour or the rollouts. They're looking for the information on the business. And that's what this is all about. So I think when you have other people who are losing interest, it's because they haven't gone through the whole process yet. You're muted, Madeline. You're muted.
Now, those that were here did, and their process is prolonged and it's intermittent. And they actually made progress. Each person that was here made progress on their journey, and are thinking of people that they're going to bring the next time. But there's no question, they're not at the lock-in like we would like to see. But as far as I'm concerned, it was a successful event. And we did do feedback, and what we're going to do again next time. I'm going to keep hosting them and inviting other guests to come in from satellite areas as well. I understand your point is very well taken, and we talked about that earlier today. We're at this stage, after all last year and where we are, we should all be to that point of having had more guests, whether they were on their own device, and then what is our plan to follow up with them afterwards. Very good point.
I agree wholeheartedly with Michelle that this is really for those people who have gone through it before. The last time we had some new people and some people that were looking at the business aspect, and it was hard to manage all of them. So we had the wellness tour before the event, and then we had a potluck afterwards, and I felt like the whole day was disjointed. So this time what I told some of the people that I will look at it, and then I will take the hour long or however long it is and break it up into segments for them. I have somebody that will take the whole hour and break it up. So I will have either a one-on-one or small groups of those people who are just starting, those people who are already in and want to have the information that they should have for a locked-in event. So we had nobody this time, and I'm going to use the video as my event.
Did you watch it, Charlie?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you. And comments for the length of time and the speakers?
Oh, I thought because we were by ourselves, just my wife and I, we were constantly making comments how good Susan did and everybody else. So we were sort of like critiquing everybody as they went through. And with Dr. Linder at the end, I mean, he just seemed to bring it all together. So I thought it was and when you're looking at it from somebody that is a business builder, somebody that is already knows it makes sense to watch the whole hour. But if I was new in the business, I could not sit through a whole hour of listening to everybody doing that. So I agree with Michelle. This is for people who have already been through the initial part of it, although it's billed as new people as well.
Any reaction from that by, or comments additional to what Charlie just shared?
Can I just add, this is Yoko. Sorry, I'm not in the video today, but I just wanted to comment. I agree with all you guys. It was a wonderful hour and 11 minutes, and it could be broken down, but I think it's up to us to break it down to more specific audiences if we want. But I think the whole point of us having something of this nature with all of these leaders that all have like an agenda of a wonderful, you know, I call it a variety of topics that they covered for somebody. But if you have a heavy hitter, I mean, this is something that they would sit down an hour and listen to and be impressed. So, you know, I think it's not just up to us to now carry on the gift that we've been given, which is, you know, and I wish we had the first one that Ben and Mike had too, because I mean, all of these just give us more ammo to be able to utilize, whether in small groups or larger groups.
Well, one of the messages from Mike is we already had 3 events and we're finishing month 2. There's an event on March 17th, and then there's 2 more events in April. So in the rhythm of the business, as we're working on the rhythm of the business for the year, taking people through the process, having those that we've had come invite other guests so that we can leverage these events into the future. Would anyone like to comment on that?
I think it's really good to have that and have that goal, to be working towards that, you know, and to keep it going, because I think, you know, as we get more into that rhythm, it'll become more and more natural, that we will have enough people in the funnel to be able to utilize those.
Contacting and inviting, however many a day, to get people into the funnel. Carol, you mentioned on the previous call that you had a young teenager.
13-year-old.
Yeah, please
Yes.
share her perception.
Yeah. Well, she was able to take the whole thing in. You know, I mean, I just shared, you know, for me, hard for me to keep up with Murphy and to process it. She was right with him, and she really kept up with him. And when I asked her afterward, she was able to tell me what he said, and she related it, she comprehended it, and she also pointed out, she liked the whole thing, she said, but I said, well, did any stand out more? And Rick was the first one, and she got that whole thing. And then Julie Tara and Barbara Bertucci touched her, you know,
caught her attention.
But she liked the whole thing. She wasn't disparaging anything. So that is what that says to me, is that it's so important for us to support everybody who's working, you know, and leading, and not try to say one is better than the other, because we need everybody.
Yeah, actually, it's not a better than. It's just like we're all different on here. We have independent consultants with different personalities. And for those of us that have been around that went through the flexible communicator, different people relate to different styles. And we shouldn't really prejudge. We should be asking and listening and connecting to who relates to whom the best, age-wise and presentation-wise. So there was
on this presentation, everybody affirmed everybody, you know, and there was, you know, that there was no
criticism.
It was everybody affirmed everybody. That's what I would say. Positive and uplifting. Yeah.
There was a question on the chat, Carol, of the age of the teenager. Somebody
16
on
years old.
16. Thank you. Thank you. Well, it's 9:30 and we have some people that haven't shared yet. Randy?
Well, I can share quickly. I'm in Canada and I didn't have guests with me, but I see this as a really excellent A. And when timing isn't right, like lunchtime on Saturday, if it doesn't work, I'm just going to use it as an A for a meeting some other time for the people that I'm getting through the process. And I think an hour is a little long. I think they need to, or an hour and a half. I did see it. It was so good. But I think it really should, they try to keep it to 45 minutes so that we can fit it into a more organized and not too long event. But I think it's just the perfect A, really. You just use it.
Thank you.
All those different voices and different backgrounds, different stories. It's just really powerful.
Okay. Any other comments that anyone else would like to share?
Madeline, I'll just add that between that we have every month or every 2 months, and you guys on Thursday, you know, with your product and business that you're now combining, we're really going to have lots of tools. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks for bringing that up. We asked Mike. Randy has been doing every Thursday morning. It's 11 Eastern time and 8 o'clock Pacific time. And Michelle and I have co-hosted the evening product showcase. And then Suzanne and I on Monday evenings have been doing a business presentation and bar, but tune in Tuesday. So there have been other events that people can plug into, and those are available. Many of you on this call have used them as far as helping to take people through the process. Last Thursday night, we asked Mike if we could pilot combining the long 40-minute presentation that he and Ben did, or just shortening it, clipping through it, or maybe eliminating a few slides. And he said, as long as we emphasize the one slide that showed the profit, the people, and the, what was the third P? Purpose, profit, people, and planet. Okay. And so we did that and clipped through it in about 20 minutes and then had some conversation afterwards. So we're going to do that again this week. And like Stan mentioned earlier, Dr. Stan, the old flip chart that had product and business since healthy finances, and that's shared so well on the one slide in the business presentation, is the major cause of stress. And stress, as Dr. Carey points out so very well, is a major cause of the body, mind, spirit imbalance that we have and the other 5 pillars of health. So they're very much related. And the wellness home is a solution for that. So healthy finances definitely needs to be emphasized. It's not one or the other. So I encourage you to tune in Thursday night it's 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific time to the RA Live, and help give your feedback of shortening up that presentation. And then Randy, I think you said in March, you would be able to possibly look at that too. So whether we'll alternate and
we'll do it
have a condensed one. Yeah, we're not quite sure yet, but it would be nice if we could condense it and get it done in a half an hour period.
Madeline, Suzanne just shared that with me today, and that's what I'm planning on doing tomorrow night as well, the new condensed one.
Okay, so you're tuned in Tuesday.
Yeah, we're going to try it for the first time. And I found this really helpful to give me new ideas about how I will present the event next month when we have it, given everybody's feedback. It was really helpful.
Tonight. Thank you. John Berkheim, we learned earlier that you were in Nican back in '98 and then came back 3 years ago. So did you host an event this weekend or did you watch it?
No, I didn't host an event. I was busy that day. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet either, but I will be in the next couple of days here.
Great. Welcome aboard. So John's back for the past 3 years and is up in Canada, the Vancouver area, did you say? So it's nice to have an international team on here tonight.
Yeah, we're from Kelowna.
Welcome. Welcome aboard. Anyone else that didn't have a chance to speak? Mrs. Kramer, is there anything that you would like to add? Or Connie? Connie's out in a farm somewhere, but may be able to contact in.
I don't have anything new to add, just I would affirm everything that the people have already said about the whole presentation being really, really outstanding. I'm wondering, really, since there's not interaction with the audience, what is actually the purpose of having it live? I mean, of course, have it live, but to emphasize that people should be in attendance there, I tend to agree that it's more of a lock-in event for people who've already been through the process. But as Madeline says, you know, you don't know where somebody is definitely in the process, so it's good both ways.
Prior to it starting, Mrs. Kramer, just to answer, that was impressive to the team that I had. While they were eating their soup, and we had it on the full screen and I was moving the pages, seeing it go from 75 to 84 to 120 to 130 was very impressive that many sites were logging on. And in the beginning, there was some interaction. A few people popped in, said where they were from. On the chat, we're saying hi to one another. So it was, yes.
That kind of interaction is definitely good.
And anyone could scroll to see if they had guests. You could see who was on the guest list from telephone numbers or whatever. So it was interactive from that perspective. And as Bob Kelchner said a little bit earlier, that's a big event. That's a bigger turnout than we've had at Salt Lake City or Orlando in recent years to have that many. So one final comment I'd like to make is that as we're rebuilding again, it's obvious. We teach that people are looking for a gig. Many people are working 2 gigs. Many of us are working this as a gig. And so people are busy. And we talk about time and money freedom and health improvement. So we have to respect that. And I believe the response that we're getting from these Zoom events and how people are leveraging them, as you just said, Barbara, there's some good ideas here tonight as to how we can use the recording and who we might want to invite. And Bob, you kind of said 2 things that sounded a little different, opposite to me. You said you were going to be careful who you were going to invite, but yet you said the one person out of 3 that was your new guest really got turned on from seeing it. And so sometimes we don't really know who may get turned on. And so I think that there were a lot of good ahas tonight. And if anyone else wants to add another comment.
Yes, I would like to add something. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
We can hear you. Can you tell us who you are?
Oh, this is Erika Reco from Florida.
Well, hello. Pleased to have you, Erika.
Hi. I really like the event. It was, to me, it was a learning experience because I think every time you learn something new.
Yes.
And we had a new couple that they just signed up and they love it. They love the event. They got really excited.
So you have a new couple and it was the lock-in event for the new couple.
Yeah, they have so many questions. They wouldn't stop asking.
Yes. So it sounds like several people. I had people that moved along in the process, and we had some. Can we raise your hands if you had a new sign up or new orders or appointments to follow up as a result of it? Anybody? Even people that you called in afterwards?
Yes. Let's see. Where do you put your hand? I'm not sure.
Put your hand up. I can see your face now vaguely. You need to have the light in front of you. Thank you for joining us.
You know what? I'm not sure how to use this thing.
That's okay. That's okay. All you need is a light in front of your face. You're using it well. There you go. We can see you now. Very good. Thank you for joining us. So Erica is a Royal Diamond, correct?
Yes.
Yes. And so we have a Royal Diamond on tonight who had a new guest who had it as a lock-in. So this is very wonderful. How many people did you have at your event, Erica?
We had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think there were about 5 people, and they supposed to be more, and there were 2 that somehow they supposed to showing up, but they never show up. 2 of them, you know, they said they will show up, but they didn't.
Yeah,
I don't know what happened. Yeah, I
Very-
don't know what happened. And they supposed to, I mean, they said they were leaving their house, but they never show up. I don't know what happened. And then there were like 3 that they canceled.
But you had 1 that is on fire. So we're looking
Yeah.
we're looking for 3 that are on fire. It's and take it from there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we're excited, and we will be having more people the next event.
Thank you. Good to end on a positive note of positive energy. Anybody else? Last comments?
Dee here in Chicago, and I'll just affirm what others have said as well, that I thought it was excellent. And I too would like a little shorter, if people are there, so that they hold interest. And, you know, so it doesn't go on too long, although the information in it was so good. And I will definitely use it to share with others, because we can keep using it even if people couldn't be there that day.
Thank you, Dee. Erica is asking where you can find out about all the events. So you're in Florida, so 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursdays is the same one, theroyalalliance.com/live, RA Live. And Tuesday night, Barbara, can you share your link? Barbara's back. Actually, while Barbara's coming on her link, I'll share my email, and Suzanne Steele put together a nice list. So my email for anybody that would like that list, I'll send it to you. It's Madeline, Madeline, middle initial R for Rose, ZAW@gmail.com.
W?
Yeah, Z, like my name is Madeline Zaworski. So I'll type it in the chat here to everyone. And any other questions while I'm typing? Let me, where's the everyone on here? Right at the top, because there's yours was in there. So it's MADELINER. Any last comments?
Well, Madeline, I want to thank you for moderating this and making it in alignment with success and hearing all the success stories. That's what it's all about. So thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, and thank everybody for saying everything that you did tonight. And for those of you that came on a little bit late, last year when Mike began his active wellness tour, his second stop in the U.S. In January was here in Cleveland, and then the second time he came back to Pennsylvania to both Elaine's and to Randy's. He was here on St. Patrick's Day, so I got out my St. Patrick's Day scarf. And of course, I'm half Irish, so for 2 reasons here. Thank you all very much. And Barbara, your link on Tune In Tuesday?
I just put it in the chat.
Okay, so we'll stay on until everybody can copy it from the chat.
Oh, okay, thank you so much.
And that's an excellent one. That is at 7:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank
Have
you.
a great week.